Good evening, welcome to the Buck Stops here. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program this evening, a face-off between Delhi's power companies and the Delhi government. BSES Yamuna Power Limited, which provides electricity to lakhs in East Delhi, says it's broke and has no money to buy power. And a massive load shedding could be a reality 10 hours onwards from tomorrow itself. This is blackmail, says the government, which reads the power company the Riot Act. Either supply power or we'll think about replacing you. Now, in just the last hour, as the prospect of those power cuts seemed ominous, the Delhi Electricity Regulatory Commission has cleared a power surcharge across Delhi. You will now have to pay a surcharge of between 6 and 8% starting tomorrow. Where does this leave the Aam Aadmi? Also coming up on the program, take a look at this video. These are some of the most common and popular cars on Indian roads. But did you know that the small car you have invested in could be a death trap? Now the International Safety Standards Assessor NCAP comes out with a damaging report on how several cars on our roads are singularly unsafe in the event of an accident. Some of the most popular cars, small cars, out on the Indian roads. Well, we'll be joined later on in this program with experts from NCAP and also representatives of the Society of Indian Auto Manufacturers in a straight debate. How unsafe is it on the roads of India in small cars which take the market in terms of sales? But first, let's quickly move on to our top story. In just the last little while, Delhi's power regulator has cleared a surcharge on electricity rates between 6 and 8% depending on where you live. This comes on a day when a major power supplier told the Kejriwal government they were broke and that massive 10-hour load sheddings would start tomorrow in East Delhi. Now, with its back against the wall, the electricity regulator has acted. Where does this leave the Aam Aadmi?
A student of class 12, Shreya Mathur, is days away from her board exams. Mrs. Sengupta has an inverter at home, but she knows it can't take the load of all the electrical appliances at home. The power tussle between the Delhi government and the Reliance-backed distribution company now has them worried.
At night, you can concentrate more, and these 12th board exams are really important. The whole career depends on it.
My daughter's the 12th boards are starting in about 4 weeks' time. So this is definitely going to impact their study schedule.
हमने कोई कमी नहीं रखी, तो हम क्यों भुगते भाई? किस बात के लिए?
In its letter to the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi, Reliance has warned of 8 to 10-hour power cuts in East and Central Delhi, saying it's facing a serious fund crunch to buy electricity. Load shedding could hit East and Central Delhi as early as Saturday. BSES Yamuna says it's unable to make payments to NTPC and to NHPC. The discom says banks have withdrawn new funding support. BSES also says banks have been alarmed with subsidy-led approach to tariffs. BSES Yamuna owes 84 crore rupees to NTPC. The Delhi distribution companies also say that tariffs need to increase and reflect costs. Meanwhile, NTPC has rejected the Delhi government's plea to continue power supply to BSES Yamuna. The Delhi government, that's already ordered a CAG audit of private power distribution companies in the capital, has hit out at them, accusing them of blackmailing the government and warning them it won't hesitate to cancel their licenses.
इनके अकाउंट्स के अंदर बहुत सारे प्रश्न चिन्ह लगे थे। सीएजी का ऑडिट ऑर्डर किया गया है। सीएजी के ऑडिट की रिपोर्ट आ जाए, उनको कॉपरेट करना चाहिए। पूरी तरह से कॉपरेट नहीं कर रहे हैं ये लोग। इससे और एक शक पैदा होता है कि इनके अकाउंट्स के अंदर गड़बड़ तो नहीं है। तो सरकार चुप नहीं बैठने वाली। अगर ये ज्यादा वो करेंगे तो लाइसेंस कैंसिल करने में सरकार हिचकिचाएगी नहीं और दूसरी कंपनियां ले आएंगी। देश के अंदर केवल 2 कंपनियां नहीं है, देश के अंदर बहुत है, केवल टाटा और अंबानी नहीं बचे हैं। देश के अंदर बहुत कंपनियां हैं, हम दूसरी कंपनियों को ले आएंगे। तो ये इस तरह की बदमाशी करने से बाज आएं और दिल्ली की जनता को मैं आश्वासन देना चाहता हूं कि बिजली कटौती की चिंता न करें।
Our current power tariffs are unsustainable. Discoms are also playing a game of putting some pressure on the government.
The Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi had listed the reduction of power tariffs as one of its biggest achievements in the first month in office. But this open power play between the distribution company and the government here in the capital could mean the burden could fall on the consumer. In New Delhi with Shweta Rajpal Kohli, Ketki Angre for NDTV.
So has the crisis in East Delhi been averted? What about this increase in electricity prices? Joining us to debate this, Pinky Anand, spokesperson of the BJP. Also with us, Ashok Rao, advisor of the All India Power Engineers Federation. Harry Dole, the Director General of the Independent Power Producers Association of India. And Raghav Chadha, a member and spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. Raghav, bottom line, you may not agree with this increase in the power tariffs, this surcharge which has just been announced. But does this mean that people in East Delhi will manage to go without these very long power cuts?
Well, Vishnu, I've just been told about this increase in the power tariffs, and let me at the outset say that it is the worst form of blackmailing and monopolizing and also holding the capital of the country to ransom. It is you know, in Hindi, as we say, that, you know, ek to chori upar se seena jori. Their accounts are fudged, they follow malpractices, they have been looting the government, and now they have found another way of increasing the prices by coming up with a surcharge. They did this 4 years back when they requested to the Sheila Dikshit government and said the very same thing, that we are unable to provide power, so please bail us out. The government at that point gave them an 820 crore bailout package, and this is precisely what they're expecting from us.
No, but
which would not
this
happen.
is the Delhi,
Number
this is
two,
the regulator. The DERC, the Delhi Electricity Regulatory Commission, is independent. They say,
so this is what I'm saying. They
there's
have found,
no option.
They have found a loophole to increase the power tariffs in the name of the fuel surcharge. Now what happens is, as per the agreements and the law, that if you read it very carefully, you will find that they can increase this only if the cost of fuel increases. Now the total cost of power production, the fuel cost is only 15 to 21%. So in order to increase the fuel prices by 6% or 8%, if you look at it mathematically, there has to be an increase in the cost of fuel or the cost of coal by 40%. And if that is the case, if the cost of coal has increased by 40%, then the power, why just the power sector? The cement sector, the steel sector, all should be hampered. Why just the power sector? And why just the people of Delhi?
The input cost of fuel and coal. But I'm asking you another question. Raghav, is the Delhi Electricity Regulatory Commission biased? I thought it was independent.
I personally thought until this afternoon that it was unbiased. But
now they are biased because they have taken a decision which doesn't suit the Aam Aadmi Party.
No, that's not the case.
So
I will point out one case. A few years back, there was this commissioner.
Now they are biased. Half of the day they are biased. Half of the day they are unbiased.
No. I personally, I was hoping that they are unbiased. But I have been also, it has been brought to my notice that there was this ex-commissioner of the DERC who was later recruited by Reliance on a very high post in Odisha. So all these manipulations and conflict of interest are also happening, and which makes us revisit the very thought that are these commissions like the DERC and the CERC actually independent, or are they just inclined towards one vested interest which are holding the capital to ransom?
Okay, Harry Rahul, come in over here. Raghav Chadha of the Aam Aadmi Party saying that the Delhi Electricity Regulatory Commission, which has hiked rates in a surcharge in the last couple of hours between 6 and 8% as Delhi stared at a crisis, particularly East Delhi, he says that the electricity regulator is biased. Is that your opinion as well?
Well, before I get into that, you must forgive me. I've joined the discussion a little late. There was a sound problem. We couldn't hear it. But whatever little I've heard from Raghav ji, while I respect his sentiments, and I am also a Delhiite, but I do want to sort of say one thing, that the owner of the company concerned, whether it is A or B or C distribution company, is also the Delhi government. And my submission is, before we get all excited about blaming A, B and C, let us also try and understand the framework within which these tariff increases are taking place. And in that context, I think it's very important, and I'm sure a young man like Raghav has got all his numbers clued in, that if you want to get quality infrastructure and you want to make sure that the consumer in Delhi is not affected, then you need to have a mechanism in place where the consumer is insulated to the extent that he can afford to buy the electricity that is being provided to him, and that very much is the job of the government. Now, if the government decides, listening to the public sentiment, that the electricity prices are high, then the government can step in, and this is already happening, and it has happened already in Maharashtra. So therefore, if there is something like that, yes, but at the same time, very, very important is the consumer of Delhi should not have a blackout. We have to find a solution which comes and meets the expectations of all the parties concerned in an amicable manner, and also I think it's also a great opportunity for the consumers of Delhi to get educated, to understand what is exactly going on and why are these things happening. Because what has happened is the consumer has never bothered in the last 15-20 years that I've been associated with the power sector to really understand, because the power sector has been some kind of an opaque subject.
Okay, fair enough.
This is a great opportunity, and I want to congratulate the Aam Aadmi Party and Raghav and all his colleagues and friends and consumers of Delhi. Please try and understand what is happening, and then yes, a solution should be found.
Okay.
But in the meantime,
yes,
tomorrow and day after,
they
should not be the consumer of Delhi should not be affected.
Raghav, that was my first question. What happens tomorrow in East Delhi? Lakhs of people. Quick answer before I go to my other panelists.
Yes, just one question. Yeah, I will answer that. As I said in the starting, as Sir said that the Delhi government must step in. The Delhi government stepped in within 5 hours of forming the government by ordering a CAG audit, and also by ordering an independent investigation and checking of the meters. Number two, what will happen in East Delhi tomorrow? I've been talking to few activist friends earlier, and I spoke with them very recently also. They said that it is not very much possible for them to just cut off the entire East Delhi. And it is because that that guy said that the northern grid would fall because it generates so much energy that there is no place to store that energy. So they would in fact have to stop the turbines. If you look at it slightly technically, the northern grid will have to stop one turbine in order to not produce that much energy.
So BYPL was lying today when they said that there could be power cuts tomorrow. They were lying.
I am just saying what technically I have understood from one of my activist friends.
With due respect, this is far too important an issue for people who are not informed to spread all kinds of canards. I'm not taking any position on who's involved.
As I said, sir, I've quoted a friend. I'm not saying this is my view.
Power where the situation is going to go like this. This is not a correct statement at all. Now, what I'm trying to say is very simple. The consumer of Delhi must not face a blackout. The government owns the company. They should sign a check tomorrow morning and tell NTPC not to regulate it.
Okay. Pinky Anand, do you believe or do you see this as a reality check for the Aam Aadmi Party? Their intentions were the best to protect the Aam Aadmi, whether it was through subsidies or other routes, to ensure that those people whose electricity connections had been unfairly cut off, those were reconnected in some cases by Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister himself. Now that they have come to power, do you believe this is a reality check?
Of course it's a reality check. Actually, as a citizen of Delhi, I am scared. I am scared that we have a government which is running the city in such a manner that there is total chaos. First you come into power in 5 days, and before you even have the trust vote, you declare a reduction of prices in electricity and then claim to the world in general, only vis-a-vis one particular grouping, you claim in general that you have reduced prices. Now, you can't really reduce prices in this fashion by slashing down or by giving a subsidy. The subsidy was supposed to be of 200 crores. You have a situation here where a government is supposed to see what is possible, A, B, plan. For example, I believe the planning shows that this was decided in the last term of the fiscal year, so therefore this could not even go from the budget. This had to be diversionary funds from infrastructure, hospitals, schools and whatever else have you to this kind of subsidy. This subsidy obviously wasn't sufficient for the discoms, right or wrong, that's another chapter altogether. Then the government orders an audit into companies, which is petitioned to the High Court to say we are not subject matter of CAG because we are private companies and therefore not amenable to CAG audit, etc. Now with this kind of situation, what is there? Accepting for sheer chaos, the citizens of Delhi face a blackout, whether in East Delhi or I believe
okay, Raghav, reply to some of those.
Up to 10 hours, you have an increase. Ultimately, what are you having?
Pinky ji, what else can the Delhi government do? The DERC doesn't fall within the ambit of the Delhi government. We have, as soon as we came to power, we asked for a CAG independent audit, which the previous government has been trying to ensure, which has been...
I'm sorry, Raghav. The only thing I understand is this. Within 5 hours, you're coming into power through a backdoor entry. You don't go anywhere further. You bring about a subsidy. Whether the subsidy was affordable,
please,
whether
let's
the subsidy
not
was planned,
paint this
you
with
promised
the
the
wrong
people
brush. Please don't use
reduction
such
in
as
electricity rates,
backdoors.
not subsidies.
We had
Which
statements in
cannot
our
be gone
manifesto.
today.
There has been
Today
gross window dressing.
Manifesto,
Their accounts have been fudged.
Your
There have been
manifesto
reports that
said
have
you would
proven
reduce
this.
electricity.
The BRC audit.
Your manifesto promised reduction in electricity
let us
tariffs,
at least
not giving up subsidies from the funds of Delhi government.
Of course, I have said this on record more than 100 times that the subsidy is only a temporary short-term measure. We have instilled an independent audit as per section 20 of the CAG Act. This audit can very well be done.
Alright, Raghav and Pinky, we can't hear either of you, so I'm going to go across to Ashok Rao to perhaps look at it once again from a somewhat technical perspective. Sir, according to the Electricity Regulatory Commission, the private discoms operating in the city have a revenue gap of 19,500 crore rupees. Which government in India, which government in the world can overcome this reality? Right, on the one hand, you've got governments with a populist agenda. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. And then there is this economic reality. Is it a hopeless situation for the Aam Aadmi Party to push its populist agenda, given this reality which they have inherited?
Well, Vishnu, let's go to a more fundamental question. 10 years have passed since the earlier legislation was overthrown and a 2003 legislation has been brought. And nothing has improved as a result of it. Almost all state electricity boards are bankrupt. None of these private sector have proved themselves successful anywhere in India. You look at what is happening in not just Delhi, look at what's happening in Gujarat. The state electricity boards are being made to do 100% back down. Look at what's happening in Agra with the franchisees that is going on there. Now, as far as the credibility of these discoms, the same Delhi Electricity Regulatory Authority in June 2010, and I'm quoting them, representations of discoms are baseless, full of lies and deserve to be rejected outright. Now this kind of sentence is being used by a regulatory authority. And what did they say further? They said non-issuance of tariff order resulted in a non-accounting surplus of rupees 3,577 crores. Now, if there was a surplus of 3,577 crores in 2010, how is it in 3 years they have reached a loss of 19,000 crores? I don't understand what is going on. I mean, I can give you another example. Ritala plant is not even ready, but NDPL has been claiming that they are purchasing at 14 rupees. So I can give you examples. Now, another important thing you have to recognize is Delhi is a huge setup. The amount of electricity that is consumed in Delhi is comparable to whole of Sri Lanka. So what are we talking about?